The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
Welcome everybody to a new episode. We are here with special guest Lance Pierson. Welcome.
Thank you.
Sarah, and I am 7. My first question to you, Lance, is, are you a morning person?
I absolutely am a morning person. That's so funny. That was not what I was expecting. I am. I'm whatever I need to be, like whatever work makes me, but I definitely enjoy the mornings better, getting stuff done like early and then being able to do whatever I want for the rest of the day. So
that makes sense. The reason that I'm even bringing that up or asking is because when we were trying to set up a time and date, I said 7 p.m. and his reply was a.m. or p.m. Like, I honestly don't think 7 a.m. exists in this world. So yeah.
Yeah, I love the mornings. I love waking up, having coffee, and then getting what I need done. Like when I have work and stuff, I would always prefer to have the morning shift, especially where I work, because I'll get off at like 1 p.m. or like 2 p.m. and I just have the rest of the day to do whatever I want. So definitely a morning person.
Yeah, it's definitely better to work earlier in the mornings and have the evenings to yourself.
Absolutely, because everyone else is at work
in the morning.
Yeah, the stores are empty because everyone's out working, so I can do whatever I want.
I think ideally I would like to be a morning person. It's not for me.
Doesn't work out that way. Yeah. No, I get you for sure. I mean, obviously I know a lot of people. I wasn't always a morning person. Like, I used to stay up late playing video games and stuff, and then I don't know what it was. It probably was work. Like, I started a job that made me work in the mornings, and then there was just something like so nice about waking up at like 6 or 7 in the morning and just drinking coffee, contemplating what you're going to do for the day, and then get it done, and then just having the evening to relax, go to the gym, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty nice.
Eric, go ahead.
All right, Lance. So tell us, how did you get into wrestling? What made you get involved into it?
So I started watching wrestling when I was a kid in the early 2000s. My dad and my older brother and me, we used to go out in the garage, and my dad would flip back and forth between WCW and ECW or WWE. And so as a kid, just watching these performers, I mean, at the age, I didn't know that it was, planned, and we weren't actually trying to hurt each other and stuff. But like, just watching it and seeing the emotion getting like pulled out of my dad like that, like it was something that like I was like, this is so cool. And then like as time went on, you hear, you're like, oh, wrestling's fake, and you find out the truth. It's like finding out Santa's not real. You're like, oh, what? Like, my whole life is a lie. But for some reason, for me, it actually made it more interesting, knowing that everyone's in on the secret, but these guys are still pulling out real emotion out of people. Like,
oh, yeah,
like when you see, like for instance, when I saw Logan Paul and Ricochet do the cross the ring clothesline to each other last year, like that was like the first time that I think wrestling's pulled out like whoa out of me in a long time. And so. And then growing up, I got taller than most kids my age. And I was like, this is actually, and I still watched it even in high school. And I collected the figures. I kind of kept it a secret from everyone because, I didn't want people to be like, do you watch that still? So I still watched it, collected the figures, started collecting the Funko Pops and stuff. And then, like, when it came time to graduate high school, they're asking, like, what's your career plan? And that was when I was like brutally honest. Like, I was like, I want to be a pro wrestler. Like, I want to do that. And I had some teachers that were like, okay, well, what are your steps to get there? And I had some teachers that are like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Like, I don't think that you're going to be successful in that. And then, after I graduated, I was like, that's 100% what I'm going to do. So it took a while before I actually pulled the trigger on it. I think so. I graduated high school in 2014, and then like 2015, 2016 was when I was like, okay, where's the nearest school I could go to? How much does it cost? I need to put on weight because I was just a little skinny twig, 6'3", just scrawny as all can be. And then that's when I found Lance Storm School up in Calgary. And I looked into it, how much it's going to cost, when's the next class I could do. And while I was bulking up and stuff, I saved up for it, laid down the down payment that he required, and then I got set up with he had like a house that he would rent out to the students, but that was full. So I was like panicking. I was like, well, where am I going to stay? I can't afford a hotel for 3 months. And he ended up having like a list of people that rented out their rooms to the students, exclusively to the students. So saved up money for school, saved up money for that room that I paid for, lived in for the 3 months. And then when the time came to leave, I decided I was going to drive out there. So I drove my old 91 Nissan Sentra, little piece of crap. I drove it 9 hours to Calgary from Spokane. And like when I got there, it was just so surreal that I did that, because I have really bad anxiety, especially travel anxiety. So like I think when I got past the border, I started having like a panic attack. I was like, oh gosh, it's happening. I can't turn back now. And then yeah, so I did this school for 3 months. It was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And I reached out to a local Spokane promotion, and they were having a show the day after the last day of class. And they said, oddly enough, one of the guys in our main event got injured. So we need someone to wrestle the show. I was like, I will be there. Like, are you kidding me? So I didn't get any sleep that night. I was going to leave at like 3 a.m. so I could get there at like around noonish to help set up and all that stuff. I didn't sleep at all. Stayed up the whole night, and at like 3 a.m., gotta go. Packed up the Nissan, drove in like a little small blizzard, and I got there and I had my first match. And just from there, I think I did a decent enough job. I mean, I was still terrible, don't get me wrong, but I did a decent enough job that people reached out and were like, hey, we'd love to come out here and wrestle. I can wrestle, and then just kept going from there.
It's
So
funny. And Storm, I didn't know that before today after I read Lance Storm actually one of my wrestlers. It's really cool that you got to meet. What were some of the, if you could pick one thing that he told me to carry on, that you carry, that would be?
Like what's one of the things that he taught that carried on? Being safe, trying not to be that guy that everyone dreads working. And then just the complexity, like the psychology of wrestling. Like Lance Storm has such a crazy mind for the business. He's so knowledgeable. And he's credited with his safety as well. So like when he was training, like the coolest thing I would say too is that we had to practice the moves on him first before we were able to do it on the other students, just so he knew we were safe enough to do it to each other. So the biggest thing is safety. Like, I mean, obviously we're not always trying to hurt each other. Sometimes it happens, but like when I'm trying to do my moves to people, like I'm trying to make sure that they're okay first before I even make sure I'm okay. So, and then also trying not to be that guy that's too complicated to work with, because he had stories of guys that like would come in the back locker room and they're like, oh, you're working him today. And whoever was working with him would be like, oh, no. And so I never wanted to be that guy. I always wanted to be the easy to work with guy, willing to try new stuff and safe in the ring. Because, yeah, no one wants to be in the ring with a guy that's just a loose cannon and just beating the crap out of you for real. You're like, oh, geez, I'll be with this guy today.
So when did you start? So I don't remember if I met you during Timber or was it Reactive? Wait.
Reactivate, yeah.
When did you start doing their shows? Because I came in probably already after their first year or so.
I don't remember what show it was. I want to say it was June. It might have been like their late May show or it was early June. So about 2019, I took a break from pro wrestling for various reasons, but and then COVID happened, and so obviously shows weren't being ran and stuff, and I got pretty comfortable. You know, I stopped going to the gym. I would watch wrestling and stuff, but like it wasn't really the forefront of my mind at all times because I was just so comfortable with like being fat and being lazy and just not doing anything, playing video games, you know. And then finally, like I think it was around mid 2020, like wrestling just started occupying my mind 24/7 again. Like it was all I could think about. So I started thinking of like characters to come up with, moves and stuff, and didn't really have anywhere to practice it besides my mind. And then finally an opportunity arose with Relentless Wrestling. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm coming back, I need to get in shape really badly, because I was like, I couldn't go up steps without breathing. Also, that's my cat. I'm sorry. But yeah, so, that June show for Reactivate was my first show back since 2016.
Okay, so we just saw the cat in the background. Got to know, what's your cat's name?
His name's Mando.
Nice.
Yeah, I got 2 cats and they're brothers. They have this disability called cerebellar hypoplasia. So when they were in their mom's belly, their mom got sick, and so it affected only these 2 out of the litter. It affects their center balance, so when they walk, they're really wobbly and they kind of look like drunk people. And so when we saw them on the internet and came in like to the rescue to watch them, he was the one that you saw was super protective of the other one. And at the time, I had been on a Mandalorian binge, so I was like, he's kind of like Mando protecting Grogu, So name kind of stuck with him.
Perfect. So kind of going back to, when you were training, so 2 kind of questions there. Watching WWE growing up, what, you have your impressions of Lance Storm, and then when you actually got to meet him, were they very different?
No, not really. So oddly enough, I don't ever remember really seeing him a whole lot when I was growing up. I do remember the skits that he was doing with like Gold Dust and stuff for a while, but as a kid, you're mostly enthralled with the people who are in like the main event. Like I was in love with Chris Jericho. Like that guy was just my end all be all. But the king of my world was Shawn Michaels. So like those were like them, Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock. I mean, yes, hit and miss, but in Chris Jericho, those were mostly the guys that like and John Cena, when they hit the screen, I was like, yes, I'm ready to see more of it. But never really seen Lance Storm up until like I didn't even know he had a school up until I did the research, and I watched like podcasts talking about him, and they all talk about like his dry sense of humor, his monotone voice and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's not a big deal. And then you meet him, and he is exactly how he is described in all the podcasts and stuff. He's very monotone. His sense of humor, like it takes you like a second to think about what he says, and you just kind of go like, huh, that was funny. But yeah, so.
Now, what was the culture? Was there any culture shock, being up in Canada for 3 months after being, in the US for all your life?
I'm gonna be honest, not really. It was just like really North Spokane. The only thing that was really shocking over there was how much different food that they had than we did. And like for instance, like they had candy bars, like Aero bars. They don't sell them here, but like it's my weakness. Anytime I could find an Aero bar, I'm spending every penny I got and buying them out. But not really a whole culture shock. I think the coolest thing though that was that everyone was so enthralled with hockey instead of football, which is a breath of fresh air because I don't care about football. Like I could never got into it as a kid, never really cared and stuff, but hockey's always kind of piqued my interest. And like over there, it's like there's advertisements for for NHL, Canadian League, everything going on. And so I think that was about it when it comes to differences, and I enjoyed it. So fun.
I do have a question. What were you doing? And we're kind of bouncing around. You said that you had a small break. What was it? What were you doing from your training up until your small break? Give us a little bit of background on that.
The small break in 2019 that I took?
No, before that. From the day that you graduated from Storm, or for Lance Storm's school, where were you wrestling and that kind of up until the break?
So I was wrestling. There was 2 local promotions here in Spokane, and so I was wrestling for them as often as possible up until we heard about this 24-hour show. We, as in like the A-Team guys, because at this point we just started, like we just kind of found each other, and we formed this little faction in the local indies around here. And then we caught wind of a 24-hour show happening out in Oregon. And so from there, we started traveling out there, doing their house shows. It was that 24-hour show, though. I impressed the promoter. And he had said, like, I'm gonna fly you out. I'm gonna fly you out here because we do TV tapings, and they did TV tapings at a place called like Camp with the Comb. And I was like, I've only been doing this for like a year to 2 years at this point. I'm like, why? Why are you flying me out here? And then so wrestled for them for a while, as well as the local indies. And at that point, I mean, we were really just trying to wrestle anywhere we could. We were driving all over the place. Like we'd go to the west side of Washington a lot. There's a couple times where we went up to like Vancouver, like British Columbia. We would kind of go out in that area, but we were really just trying to grasp at straws and just see what we could catch. And that one Camp with the Comb, that one was crazy because it was where like there was a lot of big names that they were flying in, and it was like a TV show that they had on their local channels. And there's where I got to meet like Gangrel, Matt Stryker, like I met Alex Hammerstone there, Mikey O'Shea, and I was like the whole time I was like, why am I here? Like I don't belong here yet. So yeah, it was just really just wrestling wherever we could. I mean, we would hear of a place that was holding a show, we'd reach out to them and they'd say yes or no, and we'd try making a good impression. So, but yeah, it's pretty much just traveling wherever we could, and then also wrestling for the local promotions, despite whether they had a big following or not, because there wasn't any training out here in Spokane. So any ring time that we could get, we got it as often as possible, just so we could improve ourselves and get more experience, so that way we could come to these other promotions and be like, yeah, this is us. And then of course we get showed up. Like another one was Prestige. Me and Chase would wrestle as the A team in Prestige for a little bit. Again, one of those places where we were like, why are we here? So just wrestling a lot as often as possible.
And honestly, Chase is one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like anytime I'm around him, like even if I'm just off doing my own thing and he's in a corner or something, he has me dying laughing constantly.
Don't tell him that.
I'll try. So if people wanted to check you out where you're currently at, where are some avenues that they could find some of your matches? Where are you working now?
Reactivate's kind of been a little mainstay since I've returned to wrestling. It's been a good place to wrestle. Relentless is another one that I've been wrestling for. Just recently, actually this weekend, I just got back from Salt Lake City for SLC Wars. And since I've kind of started again, I've been trying to reach out and get booked pretty much as many places as possible. So, but for right now, those are kind of the only two, Reactivate and Relentless, that I've been at until more come around and I reach out to more.
Was that your first time in Utah?
No, I had actually, I think it was my second year of wrestling. I had been reached out to, or I reached out to them. It was a place called like UCW, something like that. And there was this place called, there was a festival going on out in Salt Lake City called, it was like the Hispanic Heritage Festival or something. And it was just, they set out a ring out in this essentially like a carnival or like this fairgrounds. And so in the locker room was like this, I don't know, I want to say it was like an 18-foot by 6-foot made of tarp and whatnot. And so we had been out there for that show. And then the next day, me and a couple of the Salt Lake City guys were actually booked back in Spokane. So we drove from Salt Lake City to Spokane the next day. It was quite a venture.
I have done that drive. Well, not to Spokane, but back to Portland from Utah. It was probably one of the hardest drives I've ever had to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Me and Stevie, and I think we almost died like 3 times because we fell asleep driving. Not recommended.
It was so boring, yeah.
Yeah, because especially like when you get back into the Oregon up until you get to the forest area, there's nothing there, like absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, it was all just flat land and there's like nothing to see up until I think we cut through Montana on the way back and then through Idaho. And then like finally once we hit Montana, like it was like there's actually landscape to see. Like there's mountains and trees and stuff. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm dying here.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, no matter how you get to the Pacific Northwest, like even if you go through California, if you go through the Idaho way, there's always going to be like flat lands of nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst drives. But also, if anybody wants to hire me in Utah, I'm willing to make that drive.
Absolutely. Yeah. You really come to like appreciate where you come from when, I don't know, like you go through like North Dakota or something where there's just absolutely no range, you know, you're just like, this is boring out here. What am I looking at?
Definitely. All right. So now we're going to move into the part where I basically ask you 5 random questions. We recently did this with a couple other people, and it's basically I picked something that's from 250 questions, and I picked the first 5 questions, and then that Sarah is going to have your rapid questions, and then we'll go from there. The first question is, what is the weirdest gift you have ever given somebody?
Ooh, weirdest gift. I gotta think back on this one. So for like a little bit of a background, I have 5 siblings. We're all super close, and like we all try to do whatever we can to make each other laugh. So a lot of times, like Christmas and stuff, we don't really take it seriously. We'll get each other gag gifts and stuff. I think we gave it to our older brother, or I gave it to my little brother. I don't remember who we gave it to, but I went to Spencer's one day, you know, right around Christmas time, and I found some edible panties, and so I hooked those up and to my older brother or little brother. I don't remember, but I would say that's probably one of the weirdest things I've ever given. I can think of, at least. I mean, I'm probably for sure drawing a blank on something way weirder, but off the top of my head, that's one of them.
Honestly, our last guest that did that same question, their answer was a fleshlight. So that kind of goes right along with the other questions.
Absolutely.
The second question is, if you were an actor and starred in any movie that has already been made, what movie would it be and why?
Ooh. I kind of want to say the Grown Ups movies. This is gonna be a weird one, but like I obviously grew up. My dad is a big Adam Sandler fan, so I grew up watching his movies and some of his SNL stuff. And that honestly looks like it was probably one of the most fun sets to be on, because I remember like when I was a kid and that movie was coming out, all the backstage video footage that came out, and they're all just goofing around, just trying to make each other laugh, and that's what I tried doing wherever I'm at. So I felt like that probably would have been one of the most fun things to do. So,
Would you have played the Adam Sandler character?
oh no. I probably would have been one of his like doofus sons or something like that.
And when you were talking about football, this next question made me laugh because I already had prepared the 5 questions. What sport do you find the most boring to watch?
Oh, well, that might not be football then. I would have to say baseball. Yeah, it's got to be baseball. I don't think I've ever sat through an entire baseball game. I've sat through a football game before, but yeah, I gotta say baseball for some reason.
Do you have a favorite sport?
Probably be pro wrestling or UFC of some kind. Yeah.
That's right. I do remember seeing a picture of you in a UFC ring. Were you ever training in MMA?
No. That was when I was up in Calgary. The guy that you saw in the photo with me, his name's Levi Muir. He did some stuff for NXT, but him and I were like the only ones that were like super into lifting up in Calgary with the guys that we were training with.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were driving by one day and we saw a UFC gym. And so we were like, what the heck's that? And we looked into it, saw that they had like the octagon, not a real one, but it was like a replica one where guys could practice sparring and stuff. So we hit them up for like a 5-day pass. And so we worked out there, and him and I would always shoot on each other a little bit. So we would like wrestle around in that ring and stuff too. So it was a pretty cool place.
Nice. The fourth question is, what is your least favorite planet? Everybody has one.
My least favorite planet?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's got to be It's got to be Mars. Why can't we reach you, right? Why can't we live on you yet?
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
Although they did recently find that there's evidence of water there, so who knows?
Yeah, which how did they do that? I mean, I know we have the rover on Mars, right? Don't we have a rover on there or something?
Yeah, something was able to like take a picture of it, and they found out that it was ice, and then found out that there may have been an ocean or something. I watched the TikToks, and then I like forward it to everybody, and then it goes out of my mind. Yeah. And my final question is, if you were a dog, what breed would you be and why?
I think I would be a husky.
Okay.
We've had huskies like our whole lives. Like my mom had one as a kid, and then my older brother had like a litter of huskies, and every single one of them have some sort of loud, obnoxious personality, and I think that's me to the T. Like I am just a loud, obnoxious person. I'll make you laugh sometimes, but yeah, definitely loud and obnoxious. You can't stop looking at them when they make noise.
Yeah, whenever you see the TikToks of people with their huskies, it's always some weird, human-like personality trait that they've adapted.
Yeah, 100%. Always howling and stuff. It's cute. It's annoying.
All right, Sarah, your 5 rounds.
Yeah, so before we get into my game that I call like the electric chair, I gotta know. You mentioned you collected the action figures and the Funko Pops. What was your favorite one out of all the ones you ever got?
Let's see. Well, I would say one of my favorite ones that I got as a kid was I think it was like an Elite. I don't even know if they had Elite back then, but it was Undertaker, and he came with a breakable. I would say it was like a bench or it was maybe a table. And so me and my little brother who played with the action figures all the time, like we always wanted a breakable table so we could finally put people through them and stuff. I got to add a couple more because I can't just stop there. Another one of my favorites is back in 2018. I went to this toy shop out in like a local market. And I was digging through their bucket of wrestling toys, and I found a Lance Storm toy. So I had to take that because this is mine now.
Of course.
And then just recently, I acquired an Ultimate Edition NWO Hulk Hogan, and I got like an NWO Scott Hall, NWO Kevin Nash. Those are my favorite. Those guys inspired me. So those are definitely my favorite too.
All right. So yeah, we'll get into my game here. I call it the electric chair. 6 questions. Just say whatever comes to your mind first. Some wrestling related, some not. So 6 questions. First one: what is the best weapon to use in professional wrestling?
It's got to be a chair. Absolutely.
Classic. What's your favorite road trip snack?
Beef jerky.
If you could get a wrestling seminar from a past wrestler, who would you pick?
It has to be a past wrestler.
Somebody who's not wrestling anymore. They can still be alive.
Okay. I would say actually it'd be Eddie Guerrero.
Okay. His ring psychology was just top notch.
Amazing.
Favorite wrestling commentator?
Goodness. It has to be JR. It has to be JR.
Okay. Where would you rather spend your day off? Amusement park or the beach?
The beach. I get really bad motion sickness, so I mean, a day at the doing roller coasters and stuff. That's not really a day off for me. I'm supposed to be vomiting the whole time. So, the beach, absolutely.
All right. And last question: if you got to sit front row for any wrestling match, whether it's happened in the present or one that you want to see, what is that match?
That would have been Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24. That one is like probably one of the greatest tear jerker match I think I've ever seen in my entire life, and still to this day, like the promo that they play of Ric Flair, like his like career and stuff beforehand, and then the match itself. gives me chills. So that match has stuck with me forever.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question for the seminar one because you said past. If there was a current one, who would you go to?
It would have to be Seth Rollins. That guy is he's just amazing. Like, people say Chris Jericho's the GOAT, which there's some truth behind that, I'd say, but Seth Rollins is definitely, I feel like he's already surpassed Chris Jericho. Like, think of how quickly this guy's evolved from being part of the Shield to being the Architect to being the Throne Smasher. Like, this guy just knows wrestling inside and out. And to be able to get like a few seconds of listening to him talk about the psychology, or even just like how to be a chameleon and adapt in this business, like, that would be something else. It'd be worth the money and it'd be worth the time.
To me, the one thing that puts any wrestler, into that Mount Rushmore status, you always hear who's the Mount Rushmore wrestlers, is knowing how to adapt your character and change your character when you get stale. And I think Seth Rollins, like Jericho, is right up there.
Absolutely. He just kills it. Like, he knows how to stay relevant too. Like when he hurt his knee when he was part of the Authority, and he came back, but he didn't come back as the same authority figure. He came back. I mean, of course, they ran a storyline where he was kind of in the past, anyways, and the Authority was moving on to bigger and better things, and so that's what led to like his downfall with them. But like the way, like, I don't think anyone else could have executed that storyline better because he adapted it to him being I don't even remember the Kingslayer Seth Rollins, like turning that into a whole story itself. Like, I feel like there's only a handful of guys that could have done it, and he was probably the best choice out of all of them. So he's just really good at evolving his character over and over again.
All right. So I have one more thing that we're going to do, and it's mostly for our TikTok, but we'll probably add it on here too. And then we'll go ahead and do the wrap-ups, and you can plug whatever you want to plug, and then we'll call it. This is going to be trivia, and how it's going to play is it's going to be Sarah, and Sarah just found out about this moments ago. I wanted it to be a surprise, so she couldn't like call out the last minute. So how you're going to do it is I'm going to ask the question, and you guys are going to have to wait until I'm finished the complete question and then raise your hand to see who goes first. The person who reaches 3 will be the winner of this prizeless game that we've just created. All right. So the first question, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Which planet is known as the blue planet? Lance?
Is that no, that's not a planet. Neptune? Is Neptune a planet?
Neptune is a planet.
It's not the blue one though, is it?
I don't know.
Earth is the blue planet, is it?
Yes, it is. All right.
I knew that.
The second question is going to be, what is the largest? No, I'm not going to do that one because that one, okay. Who painted the Mona Lisa? Lance?
Leonardo da Vinci?
Correct. All right. And for the win, Sarah, I feel like you've just given up.
I would have gotten the planet one wrong. The painting Mona Lisa, I was debating between 1 or 2 people. Lance just got his hand up first.
And possibly for the win, what colors mix to make the color green? Oh, Sarah?
It's yellow and blue.
Yep, you got that one.
Dang it.
All right. Which animal is the tallest in the world? Lance?
A giraffe.
That is correct. And Lance takes the win for the trivia game yet to be.
I would have said Jackson Price, but I don't know if that was on your list there.
All right, Lance, where can they find
you? They can find me on Instagram, Lance Pierson. Facebook, same thing. I haven't done Twitter. I was never into it, even like when I first started. So that's out of the bag. Just those two, yeah, Twitter and Instagram, Lance Pierson.
Sarah, where can they find you?
Pretty much the same spot as all of our Buckle Bomb socials. Buckle Bomb ENT on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, Buckle Bomb Entertainment. Look for us. TikTok, we're getting up there. Slowly building our followers, more content.
And also be sure to check out our Facebook page at Buckle Bomb Entertainment. And our next show coming up is going to be Reactivate, where you can also see Lance. It will be in the Tri-City, Washington area, Richland, Washington, at the Jokers Club. You'll get to see Chase James versus Drexel. We'll also see Sue Young and Amira. Lance, is there anything else you would like to plug before we go?
I don't have one. No, not at all. Thank you guys for having me. It was actually fun. I was really excited. This is my first podcast I've ever done, and I really appreciate you guys thinking about me for it.
Yeah, I thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast, and hopefully you'll be able to come back and join us another time.
Done deal. You got it.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good one.